Have you ever stopped to wonder about the true name of God? I'm not talking about titles like Lord or Elohim, but the actual name God used to identify himself. What if I told you this name was so powerful, so sacred, that for centuries it was hidden from humanity? Why? Because speaking it was considered too holy and too dangerous. Today, we're diving into the mystery of the forbidden name of God. We'll uncover why it was veiled for so long, explore the significance it holds in the Bible, and reveal what it means for us today. Are you ready to discover the truth behind the most powerful name in existence? Before we dive into the sacred name of God, let's take a step back and ask, why do we even call him God? Where did this title come from? The term God itself isn't actually a name, it's a title. It comes from the Old English word God, which was used to describe any deity or divine being. This term has roots in the Proto-Germanic Gujian and ultimately goes back to the Proto-Indo-European word gutum, meaning that which is invoked or that which is worshipped. So the word God is more about acknowledging divinity than it is about identifying a specific being. In the Bible, God isn't his name, it's a descriptor. It acknowledges him as the supreme being, the creator and ruler of all things. In the Old Testament, the Hebrew word Elohim is often used, which translates to God or gods. Elohim is a plural term, but is used singularly to reflect the majesty and complexity of God. Another word used is Adonai, meaning Lord, which conveys authority and reverence. However, as we'll soon see, God has a personal name, one so sacred that it wasn't even spoken aloud for centuries. So why do we use the word God today? As Christianity spread through Europe, translators adopted local languages, and God became the common title for the Creator. It's important to note that God is not unique to the Christian faith. It's a term used across various religions to describe divine beings. However, in Christian tradition, it refers to the one true Creator. Now that we've explored the title God, let's uncover the deeper mystery, his actual name. The Bible doesn't just refer to God as God or Lord, it reveals a personal name, one so sacred that it's shrouded in mystery and reverence. The first time God's personal name is explicitly revealed in the Bible is in Exodus 3:14-15. During Moses' encounter with the burning bush. When Moses asked God, "What is your name? Who shall I say sent me?" God responded with, "I am who I am." This is what you are to say to the Israelites. "I am has sent me to you." In Hebrew, this name is rendered as YHWH, also known as the Tetragrammaton, meaning 4 letters. It translates to I am or I am who exists. This isn't just a name, it's a declaration of eternal existence, a reminder that God transcends time, space, and creation itself. So why do we not call the Creator Yahweh? The truth is, in ancient original Israelites' culture, the name YHWH, often referred to as the Tetragrammaton, was not just a name. It was considered the very essence of God's identity and power. To say it aloud was believed to risk dishonoring God by misusing his sacred name, something strictly forbidden in the 10 Commandments. You shall not take the name of the Lord your God in vain, for the Lord will not hold him guiltless who takes his name in vain. Exodus 27. This wasn't just about casual misuse. It was about ensuring God's name was treated with the utmost reverence. For the original Israelites, speaking his name aloud risked profaning something infinitely holy. Instead of pronouncing YHWH, they substituted it with titles like Adonai, meaning Lord, or Elohim, meaning God. These titles still conveyed reverence, but avoided saying the sacred name directly. It was also about fear. Misusing the name carried severe consequences, as seen in Leviticus 24:16, which says, "Anyone who blasphemes the name of the Lord is to be put to death. The entire assembly must stone them, whether foreigner or native-born. When they blaspheme the name, they are to be put to death." This fear solidified the tradition of keeping the name unspoken, ensuring it was preserved in honor. Did you know that ancient Jewish scribes went to incredible lengths to make sure people wouldn't accidentally say God's sacred name aloud? When you read the Hebrew Bible, you'll notice they used a clever visual device to remind readers to say Adonai instead. Here's how they did it. The divine name of God is made up of 4 Hebrew consonants, which correspond to the English letters YHWH. But instead of writing it out plainly, they took the vowels from the word Adonai, which means Lord, and combined them with the consonants YHWH to create a hybrid word, something like Yahuwah. But here's the thing, nobody in ancient Israel actually said Yahuwah. It wasn't a real word. It was just a visual reminder to say Adonai instead. It's kind of like leaving sticky notes on your fridge. Imagine you have a sticky note that says, drink water, but it's not the actual water. It's just there to remind you to stay hydrated. That's exactly what the scribes did with Yahuwah. It wasn't meant to be spoken. It was just a clever reminder to say Adonai. Now here's where it gets interesting. Much later, Christian scribes came along, and they didn't realize Yahuwah was just a placeholder. So they started saying it aloud, and even spelled it in their writings. Over time, this led to the creation of the word Jehovah, which eventually made its way into English and is still used by many people today. Sometimes biblical authors use Lord to refer to God, like in the phrases Lord of all the earth or Lord of Lords. But behind all these words, Jehovah, Lord, Adonai, stands the original divine name of the God of Israel, YHWH. This name points to the one who was, who is, and who will forever be. Pretty fascinating, right? It just shows how deeply sacred and meaningful God's name has been throughout history. The name Yahweh holds immense power and significance in the Bible. It's the name at which angels tremble, demons flee, and mountains quake. In Psalm 9:10, we see the importance of knowing His name. Those who know your name trust in you. For you, Lord, have never forsaken those who seek you. Even in apocryphal texts like the Book of Enoch, the name of God is described as so sacred that even the highest angels dare not utter it casually. It's seen as the ultimate expression of God's authority and glory. Even in the Testament of Levi 42, Levi sees the heavens open and the throne of God. He hears the chanting of angels who describe the power of God's name. And they called upon the Most High, whose power no one can withstand, and whose name no one can utter without trembling. Another example of this is in 1 Enoch 14:18-21. Enoch describes a vision of God's throne surrounded by fiery, radiant beings. Even the highest angels, the cherubim and seraphim, who minister directly to God, are described as overwhelmed by His presence and authority. The great glory sat thereon, and His raiment shone more brightly than the sun, and was whiter than any snow. None of the angels could enter and could behold His face by reason of the magnificence and glory, and that no flesh could behold Him. Now let's talk about something incredible. The moment when God's sacred name was revealed to humanity in a new way. In the New Testament, everything changes. The name of Jesus, or Yeshua in Hebrew, carries a profound meaning. Yahweh is salvation. Through Jesus, the sacred name of God isn't just spoken, it's lived out. Jesus embodied God's mission to save humanity, and His very name reflected this divine purpose. In John 17:6, Jesus says something remarkable in His prayer. Anyone who blasphemes the name of the Lord is to be put to death. This wasn't just about saying God's name aloud. Jesus was showing us who God is through His actions, His teachings, and ultimately His sacrifice. He wasn't just speaking the name, He was living it. By coming to earth as God in the flesh, Jesus bridged the gap between humanity and the sacredness of God's presence. Yahweh, once too sacred to speak, was now revealed in a way that everyone could understand through Jesus. It wasn't hidden anymore. Instead, it became a part of His mission to save, to heal, and to restore the relationship between God and humanity. Calling on the name of God isn't about empty tradition or ritual. It's about invoking a name that carries the authority of heaven itself. When we say Yeshua, Yahweh, we're calling on the one who saves, who heals, and who brings peace. It's a reminder that we're not alone in our struggles. God himself is ready to intervene on our behalf. Here's what we need to remember. God's name isn't just a word, it's everything he is. It's a reflection of his essence, his promises, and his unmatched power. Understanding the sacredness of his name isn't just about reverence, it's about connection. It's about recognizing that when we call on his name, we're calling on the creator of the universe, the one who brings salvation, protection, and unshakable hope. Every time you say his name, you're not just speaking, you're declaring his authority over your life and every situation you face. Let this truth deepen your faith and remind you that the God we serve is both personal and powerful. So the next time you pray, call on his name with confidence. You're not alone. You're speaking to the one who hears, the one who saves, and the one who will always fulfill his promises. Hopefully you learned something new. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe.